Hey y'all, it's Steve, Hobo with Wood, and this is going to be a long video. So grab a snack, hit the pause button if you need to, go to the bathroom, and then come back because we're going to design this. This is a graduation cake topper, and we're going to use all kinds of new products. We're going to be using new tools in Lightburn 1.4. We're using the the warp and the transform or deform tool, select shape smaller than, node editing, all kinds of things. Now, you've seen these on Amazon and Etsy for $15, $25 a piece, but if you read the description, they're made out of cardstock. They're not going to hold up, they're not going to last. You only need them to last for the party, right? Well, some of these things can be kind of neat keepsakes, if you could keep them. Well, guess what? This is not just cardstock. This is going to last as long as you want it to. Once you're done with the cake, you can pop off the little popsicle sticks and put it on the shelf, what have you. But go pack a lunch, grab a snack, go to the bathroom, and then get back here. We're going to get into the design process and then jump into Lightburn. Here are my plans on designing my cake topper. A lot of the cake toppers you see on Amazon and Etsy, they're just the glitter cardstock, and it's pretty heavy duty. It doesn't tell me the weight of this cardstock, but having worked with some cardstock, this feels like it may be a little, potentially a little heavier than even 80-pound cardstock. But you can see this has been sitting in the room now for a couple of days, and it's already starting to get some curving and lifting of the paper. It's not laying flat. And this was stored flat, but just from the atmosphere and the humidity, it's wanting to curl up. And a lot of those that you see online, they're made out of just cardstock. And if you're making them out of or making them only about 4 inches or 5 inches tall, that might be sufficient. But I'm wanting to make one a little bigger and of some significance. And if you've watched any of my designs, you know I tend to over-engineer. But I want my stuff to last. I don't know if this will be used and then thrown in the trash, or will it be a keepsake that somebody hangs on to for 6 months or a year or until they get out of college. But my plan is I'm going to adhere this to a thin sheet, excuse me, 1.5 millimeter basswood. I'll adhere that to like so. Get that laying good and flat. Now that's going to do a couple of things. That's going to make this rigid, and it's going to sit nice, and it's going to look good on the cake. It's not going to have any curls on and wrapping up on the ends. And once it's taken out, you know, I plan on using some just little popsicle sticks to glue to the base to where it can be set down in the cake. But after it's done with the cake, if you don't want those anymore, you can. These are thin enough you can just snip them off with a pair of scissors. But I'm planning on doing this probably, and not probably, I'll do it double-sided so that it's not just a wood back. Like I said, over-engineer. But I'll have it done like so that, and then with the wood sandwiched in between there, that's going to be super sturdy. And then to give it some character, I'll end up doing multiple layers with different colors to create a really nice piece. Now, how am I going to secure my cardstock to my basswood? Well, you could always try just some craft glue or some hot glue, or but the problem with that is getting a variation of coverage unless you're going to roll it on and brush it on and get a real good distribution. But instead of using any kind of glue where I've got to worry about even distribution, like I said, if you're using a brush or a roller, then you got cleanup, other issues. And then if you've cut with your laser long enough, you know that when you're cutting through, even through plywood, if you run into a variation in the wood where there's a heavier deposit of glue, then it doesn't want to cut as well. It doesn't cut evenly. So I'm not going to use glue. What I'm going to use is this. This is a 3M transfer adhesive transfer tape. It's double-sided. It's 3M, so that's good stuff. I'll peel it and stick it to my basswood. Then I'll peel it and stick the glitter paper cardstock to the 3M. Now that's going to do a couple of things. It's 3M. It's not going anywhere. And the fact that it is a very thin transfer paper, and it's uniform, it's going to make my cutting with the laser flawless. I will have no problems with cutting uniformly with my laser. Is this a little bit more expensive? Yep. But I'm not trying to make a $12 cake topper. I want to make something that's going to be around for years. Even if they do throw it away. I want to produce a much better project. Alright, so let's jump in here. Let's get started. Now this is my first attempt at this. So I don't know how well we're going to do. But I do believe we're going to do fine. Alright, so this is just peel and stick. The trick here is going to be to get it on here flat, no bubbles, no wrinkles. And boy, is it sticky. So if I start up there in that corner, let it roll over, down. Now roll it on down. I've got good, even, full coverage. Now you want to make sure you press this out and get all your air bubbles out. Oops, and do that with a squeegee or any good old solid, firm piece of plastic. Here I'm using a piece of scrap acrylic. Okay, now that's done. There's a good clean edge down this side and across. Well, the top's a little high, and that's fine because that just shows me I'm fully covered. And why is that important? Well, I don't know where my design's going to be. I don't know, so I want everything covered. All right, now let's peel this off and apply our cardstock. This ain't gonna be tricky. There we go. Now it started. Let me grab my dental tool. If you don't have one of these, you should have one of these in your shop. I use my dental tool for just about everything. See right there? Just grab that, peel that right up. I was struggling, but the dental tool made short work of it. I'll put a link to that in the description. And here you want to peel at a 90 degree. You want to make sure you're not peeling your adhesive off. And And where it's overlapping the wood and not stuck to the wood previously, she's wanting to lift. It's not lifting from the wood, but from the area overlapping the wood where it's not stuck. We'll do it that way. And peel to the edge. And get over here in the middle and peel outward. There we go. Okay. Now let's get our cardstock. And this is 3 of them, so you don't want to be trying to peel it up and off and off and off. So you want to get her to right the first time. So I'm going to start here, stand it up, it's flat, and just layer down. And you want to roll this on as well. Roll her down. And now press her out. Alright, now this piece is ready to go to the laser. When I go to the laser, I'm going to cut it face down. So you're going to want to make sure you reverse your image and do a mirror engraving or a mirror cut. So when you lift it, you flip it, you'll have what you want to be in the correct orientation. So now let's go back to our Lightburn and our design work and get this on the laser bed. Okay, so I've decided that I'm going to try and make a front and a back from that one piece of wood, instead of trying to cut out the piece and then go back and trying to figure out a way to adhere that glitter stock to the back of the piece that was already cut out. I'm just going to cut out 2 pieces off of that one piece of basswood and then sandwich the popsicle sticks between them, because there's plenty of room on this piece of material. In fact, I'm going to make 2 of these, since this is my first one, and I'm probably going to screw up one, at least one. So let's look at this design, and keeping that in mind, I'm going to work on 1/2 of this paper. This is my template here, and I'm going to design it in the top half so it can be duplicated and drop down to the bottom and cut a front and back out of one piece of material. So this is 300 by 300, so I need to keep my design between 150 by 300 millimeters. All right, first thing I want to do is I want a big congrats. And I like scripts. Let's do script, empty, bold. And let's do, come on, type, baby. Congrats. Is that the one I want? I think that's the one I want. Yeah, we're going to use that. Alright, congrats. And then I want, since I'm going to do this in 2 layers, I'm going to leave the congrats just in the gold. But then I'm going to have the name and on the gold background, and then have the green on top of that, an offset in green. and the name, and then the class of, let's see, let's do class of 2023 with freshman. Where'd you go? Freshman, there we go, freshman. Class of 2023. Need that caps. Caps on. Alright, class of 2023. There we go. Bring that down. Now we need. I'm going to do this with a font. Excuse me. Is that what I want? No, I didn't want to do that. Put that back. Start a new font or a new line. Use Castula there, and let's do that. And make that bigger. All right, now what that's going to do, these will be cutouts. Here be waste, so I'll see the gold coming through the letters of the name, along with it being in the background. All right, first let's center Seth up here, and then bring her up to about so. We're gonna, I don't like that G overlapping, but we're gonna center everything first. And let's center that with Seth. Now dock it up, dock up, there we go. Now I've got them docked just so I can get my sizes where I want them. So there's 5.9. Let's just make this 6 wide with my aspect ratio locked, and make this one 6 wide with the aspect ratio locked. Alright, so that's 6 inches across, plenty of material on either side. Now we want to get this congrats. Now we're going to use the new tool to get this G up above Seth and create some character to this. So let's go to Tools and Deform Selection. Now, holding your, if right now, and there's a couple things about this tool I love and a couple things about it I hate. So right now, not touching any shift and or control. You grab this one little button right here, the blue button. You're going to move that one independently from all the rest. And now I want to undo this. If I hit undo, it will not undo. That should be fixed. You've got to leave it to get that to go undo. Go back into Tools, go back to Deform. Now, same button, but this time I'm going to hold the Shift key. And now it's moving the two closest to each other, and it's moving in opposite directions. Here I'm rolling out, so the other one is going out. Go back, and I need to undo all that. Undo. All right, now select it, go back to Deform. That was holding Shift. Now grabbing that one and holding the Control button. Now what it does is it grabs the one on its polar opposite and moves in the same direction. You see? But you can't undo. You got to leave out and then go undo, then go back to Tools, then go back to Deform Selection. Tools, Deform Selection. Alright, so what I want to do is I'm going to come right here. I'm holding the Shift key, and I'm going to drag that up. Holding my Shift key, drag that up. Drag that up. Drag this one up. I wished you could draw a rectangle, select a rectangle and select multiples and move them all at one time. But you can't. I'm still figuring this out. But I'm bringing this up here until I get it. I'm holding the shift key. Now see, I'm starting to get that G up above Seth and get some curvature to it. Now you can also come over here, still holding the shift key. Let's wrap this one down a little bit, and we'll even bring it in, kind of add some more curvature to it. Same thing here. And I don't want it to stretch them out and get them really deformed. But now what I'm looking at is I'm looking to make sure I've got my S overlapping that H. The C is overlapping that S. It's not quite there yet. We'll drag it on down. That's good. My G is overlapping the T. Because I need those to overlap because I'm going to weld those together. But theirs not. It's starting to look good enough to where I don't have too much of the G overlapping like that. Alright, now I was holding the shift button the whole time to move those in pairs. So now I will select that, and hit my weld button and weld those together. So now when that cuts out, that is going to be one piece. Now down here for my class of 23, I'm going to bring it down here and create some space. Those are welded. Actually, you know what? I shouldn't have welded those yet. So let's go back. Let's undo that weld. I'm going to grab both of these, bring it down, create some space. I just using my arrow key to bring it down, so I'm keeping everything centered. Now I'm going to do an offset. And let's do, I'll work in inches and millimeters, but when I do offsets, I like working in metric. So let's select that. We're in our metric mode, go to offsets. And let's look at a 3mm offset. That's looking pretty good. 3mm. Alright. It's okay. We do not want to delete the original. We're going to keep it for right now. So outer shapes only. And let's look at a round instead of a corners, because we're going to weld those all together. It's okay. Now let's select all of that and take it back up to where we have that overlapping of the G and the S. The C and the G look good. The S is a little bit heavy on its overlap. I should have done my offset before I started curving all of my text. But that's okay. I'll just go back here to my deform selection, and we're going to hold the shift button and bring that, well, I don't want to hold my shift because that's moving my C over there too. So let go of my shift button and just bring this one up, bring it up just ever so slightly. I believe that'll look okay. Now, I'm going to weld that offset and congrats. Oh, and I didn't mean to move Seth, so just undo. There we go, put Seth back. There we go. So that's that. Now let's do an offset of class of 2023. We're going to do the same 3mm offset. And say okay. And tell you what, for ease in glue up, let's do, because those didn't quite connect there. Let's go back, undo that. Let's do an offset of 3.5. There we go. Now see what that did was it joined, made all of those one piece. If we go down here, now you see how those are separate pieces? Those are 3 individual offsets or cutouts that would end up having to be glued together or glued on individually. If we take that up to 3.5, now that's one piece, one cutout that's going to go on there. I like that better for ease of assembly. So we're going to leave that because this particular offset will not be, this is going to be part of the original background, but you'll see where I've got a design in mind. You'll see when we get there. So we're going to say okay. Let's take and move these up. We got those overlapping, and now we'll grab those two and weld that together. And I'm probably going to get rid of all those little bitty triangles right there. Now here's another new tool in version 1.4. I think anything smaller than this we're going to get rid of, but right now that's got all those grouped together, so we're going to ungroup everything. We select that shape, go into tools, select shape smaller than selected, click that, and that's going to select everything on this design that was smaller than that right there. And now I can just hit the delete button and all those have gone bye-bye. Yeah, before I join everything back together, I'm going to clean up this whole bottom line. I want that to be a straight line across there. So with that only that outermost outline selected, go into node editing, and it shows me all those nodes, and I can just draw a selector tool around that and hit the letter D, and actually come right here, letter D, get rid of all of them, D, and hit the letter D. There we go. Clean that up. That looks nicer. Now take I'm considering, you know what, just to keep all of that, yeah, I'm gonna do some more editing here. Select that one, go into node editing, and this time, actually what I want to do before I do that, I'm gonna come right here with my pencil tools, go into toolpath. Didn't want to put that on toolpath, but I can fix it. Come right here to where that S and that C are meet on the most outermost outline there, and hold my shift key and come over here, and now put that back on the cut path. There we go. And go into node editing. I'm gonna get rid of all of these. I will bring these down to here, to that toolpath I just drew. Get rid of these. Select these, bring this down to the toolpath I just drew. Delete that. And come over here, do the same thing over here. Node editing. I'm gonna grab those, all those in that curvature. Just bring this down to that toolpath. And grab all of those, bring that down to the toolpath. Now I can select those, hit the letter D, Select those, hit the letter D. Select those, hit the letter D. Node edit, yep. All right. There. There. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Undo. Letter D. Letter D. Letter D. And one more time. Node editing. Okay, I think I'm going to like the looks of that. Let's select that toolpath, delete it. And actually, that can be cleaned up and brought back to here. So we'll just select that, hit letter D. There we go. Same thing here. All right, that's looking pretty good. All right. Now, what I want to do is come back here, because these I'm going to cut these out. Right now, if let's see, we'll put, or actually, what I was going to show you how to select this entire thing and deselect the rest. All right, or what we don't want. You select the entire project, but I do not want the name Seth on this particular. So I hold the control button and click Seth. Hold the control button and click class of, and that deselects those. Now everything else is still selected. I'm going to hit group, and I'm just going to hit Control D and bring that down here so you can see what this is going to be cut out of. That'll be the primary cutout for that gold piece we just put together. All right. Now I can get obviously 2 of those on that one piece, so that size is looking pretty good. But what is that overall height? That overall height is 114. So I mean, it could even stand to be a little bit bigger. So if we delete that, because we can go up to 150, but you know, you don't know how big your cake is going to be. So let's group all that, and let's tell her to go up to 125 with our aspect ratio locked. There we go. Now ungroup that, grab just that, Control D, bring that down. Yep, so there's my first layer. There's my primary cutout. So I'm going to set that to the side for now. Now I need to work on my, what will be my green layer, green glitter. And these, I'm not going to bother putting this glitter stock on any backing. I will cut these out with the laser and glue them directly to the face of this gold cardstock, which does have the wood backing. That's going to be plenty strong enough. But I want to do a little bit more here. I'm going to take this class of, and I'm going to do an offset 0.2, nope, we got 0.5 millimeter, nope, 1 millimeter. Am I going? Come on, 1 millimeter. All right, I'm liking that. Okay. I'll have to deal with my inner pieces. It's not a problem. Okay. All right, so let's look at this. just so I can see it better, I'm going to put it on a different layer so I know what I'm looking at. That's going to be cut out and glued on the top. Alright, so now I just need to connect my O's and my A. Alright, so let's put that back in line mode. And what I'm going to do now is, what was that, 1 millimeter? Yep. I'm going to draw a rectangle. First, let's look at a width of 1 millimeter. And that's going to be probably a little bit wide. So let's do 3/4 of a millimeter, 0.75. That looks better. What I don't want is I didn't want this line to be as large as that A, but it's going to need to be something that's feasible to work with. All right, so we're going to do 3/4 millimeter, and those are overlapping. So first thing I need to do is center that within that triangle at A. So holding my shift button, select, oh, nope. That triangle is part of the other group, so I need to, all right, so that's the original font, it looks like, because it doesn't show it the possibility of ungrouping that. So in order to ungroup that, what we have to do is, with that selected, do an offset. Doesn't matter if you go inward or outward, because we're going to do a 0 offset, and tell it to delete the original objects, and say OK. Now that's the new offset, and you can see it is now showing you it's a group of offsets. So ungroup that offset, select that rectangle, select that inner triangle, and tell it to go to center. And it looks like it was already there, so now we can weld those together. Now these two offsets need to be grouped together, so that now we can select the group and that piece there and weld it together. So there we go. Now we got to do the same thing to the O and the 0. Alright, I'm just trying to decide how much of these others I want to keep in there. From a glue up standpoint, I'm going to get rid of that and that and that. Make those solid pieces. That's giving me more area to glue up. Put that in fill mode. What's it look like? Yeah. I think I'm going to do the same thing with the S's. Yep. And we'll go back to that other tool a minute ago. We're going to select that, go to Tools, select Shape Smaller than Selected, and hit the Delete button. There we go. Put that in fill mode, look at it, inspect it. Okay. The reason I'm doing that in fill mode is because this will be the green glitter that's left. So these larger contact patches like that will be places for me to put some good glue deposits to glue that to the surface. Because I'm actually going to be just cutting. Oops, undo that. Shift. Put that on a cut layer. I'll actually be cutting that out. Alright, and now Control D. Move that down here. That's what I'll cut out in green. And fit over that real good. And let's select all of this. Group that, Control D. We'll cut that out of green. And then those, this one being in green, this one being in green. This will be in gold. And let's bring our priority down. That'll glue up like so. That'll glue up like so. Oh, wow. Okay. Let's send this to the laser. So I warned you in the beginning, this is going to be a long video. So recapping a few things, I mentioned to you when I was putting on the glitter cardstock, gluing that to the face of the basswood. When you put this on the laser, you need to put it cardstock down, basswood up. So if you're going to do a front and back, as I designed here, you're going to have to remember to mirror one of those. If you're not going to be doing the front and back and you're only going to do the front, that's the one you need to mirror. Mirror the image, put it on there, cut it out from the back side so when you take it off there, you have it in the correct orientation. If you want to have the reverse covered, then you also need to have the original shape as well. And your topmost layer needs to be mirrored and then cut out, because you need, even though the green cardstock was not glued to basswood, you don't want to be firing the laser into that glitter cardstock. You want to do it from the reverse. Alright, so when you're working with the cardstock, don't try to cut through the glitter side, do it from the back side. That 3M transfer tape, man, that worked great. Some of the best stuff. I'm going to be using that in any of these designs like this, and also I'm working with acrylic, doing some custom, and I can't even show you what those are because they're not exactly, well, making some acrylic tags and using that 3M transfer tape to help the adhesive rather, help glue all that together. Man, I really appreciate you hanging around and watching this. This has been a long day. This has been a long project. I don't know how many of these I want to make. That was a bit of a challenge. I can see why they make them just out of cardstock and two or popsicle sticks, and because that's easy, quick, done. But I don't like making easy, quick, cheap. And I probably won't be making a lot of these. This is for family, or else I probably wouldn't have done it. But we learned a lot today. Got to play with some new tools. If you enjoyed this content and you want to help support this channel and keep these things going, consider signing up on Patreon. It would be a huge help, because even though I've got this channel monetized, it's in pennies and nickels. It ain't even hit dimes yet. So the patrons on Patreon are really what's keeping this channel going, and you are greatly appreciated. Please consider going over to patreon.com/hobowithwood, becoming a patron. You'll have access to free files and my extreme gratitude. Remember to look in below show more section for the links to the 3M transfer tape, the dental tool, and my thin basswood that I use, along with the glitter cardstock. So today's been a long day, and I'm going to get out of here. Until the next video, I'm out.